Hello and welcome to Adaptive Computing's overview of the on-demand data center. Today we'll be doing a demonstration overview of the on-demand data center where we will deploy an HPC cluster in the cloud and submit some jobs to that deployed cluster. Now, to define the on-demand data center, it's an extremely flexible and scalable cloud management platform, which is used to automate infrastructure deployment, monitoring, scaling, and shutdown of cloud resources. The on-demand data center provides a single pane of glass. It allows you to orchestrate your entire cloud footprint across multiple public clouds. The on-demand data center comes with a command line interface and a graphical user interface, which allows you to manage your infrastructure, applications, and data across any of the major public cloud providers. We're going to go straight into the demo here. Now, as you can see, when you log in or when you go to the on-demand data center for the first time, you go to the login page. It's really simple to log in. You just type in your username and password and click login. If you don't have an account, you can click this create account button and go through that process. It's very quick. So as you can see, I already have a cluster created. That is this. I have named it test. Before you're going to be able to create your own clusters, you're going to need to go to the credential manager. As you can see, I have a bunch of credentials. I only have one in use right now for the sake of this demo. In order to create or import your credentials, you just go to the plus button in the top right of the credentials manager. You click the credentials that you want to use. You'll name it, and then you'll either type in your information or you'll go ahead and click upload credential, which is going to be a JSON format file that you acquire from your cloud provider, which allows the on-demand data center to identify and link up with your cloud environment. That way you never actually have to go back to the cloud console that your cloud provider gives you. So now let's go ahead and talk about stacks. Stacks are really important and helpful. They're not mandatory all the time. If you've already created a stack at least once, you don't need to have one or use one. There is a default stack called core, but if you want to make your own stack, you click the one in the top right. You go ahead and click the provider you want to use, right? And you'll go ahead and name your stack. You'll pick the prefix, and then you'll go ahead and use credentials, head node size, region, subnetwork, and you can also use provisioner scripts and upload files. This is really helpful because this will end up built into your stack once it's done. So anything that you do, such as installing packages or creating directories or putting certain files in to be used, like scripts or data, will allow you to have that already in the stack, and it'll build the cluster much more quickly with that information. So this is sort of like a framework or a template for a stack or for a cluster. So now we're looking at how to create a cluster in the cluster manager. You click the top right plus button, and you're going to go ahead and go to the Oracle Cloud, for example. We're going to go ahead and name it, pick our credentials, or region. You have your bursting configurations here. With bursting off, it'll just leave that cluster on statically. So it'll stay on until you shut it down. With bursting and minimum, it'll allow you to automatically deploy enough resources so that it'll run all the stuff, all the jobs in the job queue sequentially. And then the maximum bursting will run or try to run everything at once, or run as much as possible if it can't. And then burst all will just deploy all of the nodes in the cluster. And then if any of these bursting features are activated, once the job queue has been empty for a set amount of time, it will just go ahead and shut those off. If you go to advanced, you can actually change the amount of time that it'll wait before it'll go ahead and destroy those nodes. And that is going to allow you to save quite a bit of cost on your cloud provider fees, just because the nodes aren't going to be online and sitting around doing nothing for very long. And so they're automatically shut down, so you don't have to worry about them being left on all night or all weekend. So that can be very helpful. Now, the next thing is to go to the job manager. You're going to go ahead and create your own job, right? So click the plus button in the top right, you name it, you pick a number of nodes and a number of cores per node that you want to be able to assign to a job. You can create a cluster on demand here, which is just, it creates a one-time cluster that can also be static and kept online afterwards. You go to the script tag that allows you to either edit your script in line or upload a script. If you go to the data files, that'll allow you to upload files that your script can reference. Either maybe you're using a master script here, and then you go over here and you have all the stuff that's going to reference, or you're doing some data processing, and then you put your natural language processing base here. You're going to process this, so you can upload it there. I'm going to go ahead and run a job. You can either run a job from these buttons here that say under submit, or using the briefcase in the top left that I am currently hovering over this thing. So in order to run my job, I'm just going to click that. I'm going to select the cluster, and I'm going to go ahead and submit the job. As you can see, it takes me right to the cluster that I submitted that job on. I'm going to go ahead and submit a few more jobs, just because I want to be able to watch them go. As you can see at the bottom here, my information now here is changing. It started with nothing here, and then available nodes, right? I have 4 nodes in this cluster. If I go over here, you'll see that. And now I have 3 busy nodes, 1 available node. If I run a couple more jobs, you'll see that sort of switch again. So let's go ahead and run a couple more jobs just to put a couple more jobs in the job queue, get those nodes busy. Right, and so yeah, it's running as much as it can right now because it's in static mode. Because the bursting, as you see here, is off. I can also resize this cluster. I can go ahead and just add a bunch more of these, or I can add in different types of cluster or nodes and mix and match as I need. I can also add disks for memory space or storage space if you're running a server or something. And then, we see the workload. We're running 2 jobs, available nodes, busy nodes. We can see the queue. They got a bunch of stuff already completed. So I'm going to go ahead and go and show you some of that job output. Now, some of the you can go here, right, to the queue, and you can see this one's running. So we can note the ID of the job if we want to pick a specific one that might have the same name as something else. I'm going to look for 5 here. I'm going to go to the file manager, and I'm going to be put onto the only cluster that I have in this case. If you want to switch clusters, you can go to this button in the top right, this little drop box. Now I said I'm going to look at 5. There it is, right? And here is when you have all your jobs here that have been run in this specific cluster. The one at the top is going to be the most recent. So if I look at this, I can look at the out, the standard out and the standard error, or I can download them as files. You can also write your script so that it sends that information somewhere else, or you can use some of the command line stuff to mount or unmount different directories to the clusters. So just looking at the standard out here, I've got a bunch of prime numbers. It's just doing its thing. So that's how you look at some of the job output. There's a couple of options there. And now I'm going to show you the accounting page. Now the accounting page here is really useful. It has a bunch of information, including when you deployed something, when you destroyed something, and how much uptime it had. And that allows you to keep track of costs. It's very useful for projecting how much you're going to actually end up paying. And you have a jobs tab here as well, just to see who's running what kind of jobs, how long they're taking. You can look at more specific details and such. So that is also really useful, again, for managing your cloud provider fees. Now, I think it's time that we wrap this up. Well, thank you for your interest. Thank you for watching this video. For more information, please contact us. We can be emailed at info@adaptivecomputing.com, over the phone at 1-239-330-6093. You can also visit us here at adaptivecomputing.com.